Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about building fintech apps. And what is a fintech app? Well, a fintech app is an app that deals with money, right? So you can think about apps such as Revolut, N26, Wise, and tons of other apps that users use when it comes to making payments, making transfers, saving money, opening all kinds of different accounts, right? This is the next generation of financial apps, okay? And when it comes to building these kinds of apps, it's very, very helpful. It's going to make your life a lot easier to use a powerful framework to kind of help you tie all of this together. And in fact, in this tutorial, we're going to be using Plaid, which is a very, very powerful and a very, very popular framework that a lot of these apps use in their backend, right? Behind the scenes, this is what a lot of these apps use. And so by the end of the video, you will know exactly what it takes to build a fintech app. Okay. And so if you ever wanted to build a fintech app, you will know exactly what to do. Okay. Now, this is going to be a quick tutorial with a proof of concept app. If you guys want to see a fully fledged production app that does a lot of these things and more, like some of the other apps I've done before, then leave a like on this video. If I see at least 1,000 likes, I'm going to do a full-fledged complex app that all of you are going to absolutely love. Now, the most important thing when it comes to building these fintech apps is familiarizing yourself with the Plaid flow. And that is because Plaid is doing all the heavy lifting, right? It's doing all the heavy lifting that you do not need to do yourself. And so what I did was I created some diagrams and some explanations for you guys so that you can quickly and easily master the Plaid flow. And so make sure you pay extra attention to all of this because it actually took me some time to kind of understand it. And hopefully by the end of me explaining to you guys all of this, you'll have a fairly clear idea of how all of this works and how all of this ties into your app. Okay. The first thing that I want to talk about is the different components. So the Plaid flow is made up of three components. Okay. The first is the client component, and this is the UI flow. And so this is essentially what the user sees, right? So they need to see it because they need to grant access to their bank accounts to our app. So we're building this app and we want to pull in some of their financial information. We want to maybe display their accounts, or we want to make withdrawals or deposits or what have you. And so here we need to get the user's consent, right? Makes a lot of sense. The user needs to grant that consent, and they're going to be granting this consent via this UI flow. Okay, so it's going to be the screen where the user is going to see that, hey, your app, this app that they're using, wants to access their bank account in order to read or make transfers or make payments, etc., etc. They're going to be seeing all of that, right? This flow is very, very similar to screens that you see anytime that you're going to be logging in to some website, to some third-party website using your Google account, right? So instead of creating your account from scratch, many websites give you the option to log in with your Google account or your Facebook account or your Apple account, right? So you've seen that flow, I'm 100% sure, and it's very, very similar here. It's going to be a UI flow. Okay. The next component is a server component. Okay, so this server component is a component that we are responsible for. We need to create. Okay. And the purpose of the server component is to store account information and make requests to Plaid's backend. Okay, and last but definitely not least is the Plaid backend. Okay, and so this is a component that resides on the Plaid side, right? We have no control, we have no influence whatsoever when it comes to this component. This is a component that we're going to be talking to. And chiefly, it's going to be our server component that's going to be talking to this Plaid component. And what exactly is the Plaid component going to be doing? Well, it's going to be doing a lot of things, right? It's going to be doing token generation. It's going to be doing token exchanges. And it's going to be doing request fulfillment, right? What is request fulfillment? Well, it's everything, right? Essentially, things like getting the user's bank transactions, bank balances, making payments, transfers, what have you, right? Everything, right? This is going to be taken care for us via this Plaid component. Now that you see the three different components that make up the Plaid flow, the next I want to show you is the flow, and it's very, very important to understand because it's fairly tricky and it works very differently than some of these more traditional flows. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to display a consent to the user. So the user is using our app and the user wants to display some information, their bank balances, their bank accounts, etc., etc. They want to do something from our app, right? From our FinTech app. And so what we need to do is before we are able to do all of that, we need to show them the consent, okay? And before we can show them the consent, we need to get something called a link token, okay? And we can get the link token because we've created an account with Plaid, we have access to the dashboard. So we have all the information in order to get this link token. So we send a request to Plaid, right? So it's going to be the server component sending a request to Plaid, telling Plaid essentially, hey, there's a user that might want to integrate their bank account with our app. So give us this link token. We get this link token, and with this link token, we can finally display the UI component. Okay, that's really the purpose of the link token. Basically, to give to this UI component, this is all done by Plaid, right? It's just a client component. It's not a backend component. With this link token, we can hand it off to this client, right? That way the user can see it. And this is where the user starts seeing the consent, the page. And it's going to say something like, hey, this app wants to access your bank account, okay? And it's going to be this long flow where they're going to choose their bank, they're going to log in, they're going to choose the accounts that, that they want to make accessible to our app. All of this is going to be done by Plaid. And this is this, this client flow. This is this client component right here. And it cannot be done on the back end by the server because the user needs to see it. The user needs to approve it, right? So with this link token, we're able to display all of this. And if all of this is successful, meaning that the user is like, yes, they pick their account, they log in successfully to their bank, they pick their, specific accounts, all this information. After all this is said and done, we get back a public token. And this means that the user has successfully authenticated. Now, we're not done yet because the next thing that we need to do is we need to take this public token, send it to the Plaid backend, and get something called an access token. Okay, now the access token is the final token, right? There are three tokens here, but the access token is the final token because with the access token, we can do all kinds of transactions on behalf of the user, okay? And so the link token and the public token are temporary tokens, okay? We are only getting them to do something and then forget about them, right? So the link token, we get it here, and then we need to do this UI flow, then we get a public token. So we don't really care about the link token anymore. And then once we get the public token, it's a temporary token. We need to exchange it right away for the access token. And then we don't really care about the link token or the public token because we can do everything we need to do with this access token. And last but not least, we're going to be using this access token on a backend, right? Because we don't really need to ask the user to do anything. So these are all going to be backend API calls. So now we can simply, get all the users' transactions, do transfers, etc., depending on what they agreed to give us permission to do. Okay. So 90% of the time in your app, you're going to be dealing with this access token. These are only going to be temporary. All right. So I really hope my explanation made a lot of sense because this is rather it's a little complex. It took me some time to kind of figure this out. And so hopefully you guys are, it's more clear now as to what's happening. Okay, so you can kind of check this out. You can take a look at this diagram in more detail. You can also visit Plaid's documentation. But what I just explained to you guys is exactly how it works. Okay. All right. So now that you've seen the overall flow, you hopefully have a better idea how the flow works. Let's go ahead and jump into my proof of concept app so that I can show you how this works end to end. All right, so here I have an app that I built that goes through the entire flow and then, displays some banking information to the user once they've granted this permission. And so what we're going to do is we are going to download this app and I'm going to run it in a simulator so that you can see the entire behavior end to end. All right, so I went ahead and downloaded this app onto my computer so that we can run it locally in an Android simulator. And this is the app running right here. So the first thing that the user needs to do is they need to click on this button. It's going to be some kind of a flow, link your bank, get access to your bank, etc., etc. So when we click on this, we get the link token and we open the UI with that link token. Okay, and this is the flow that the user is going to see, this amazing flow. Okay, so we're gonna hit continue. Here we need to select a bank. Now, mind you, this is all fake, right? We're not actually linking my bank. This is all with a sandbox. And let's say I'm using Citibank. I select Citibank. It says login at Citibank Online. I click continue. And here it opens up this screen here. Okay, so I need to log into my bank. Okay, this is how the flow is going to work, right? So here we can fill it out. We can just hit sign in. Now we need to verify your identity. And how should we get in touch? So let's say mobile or, second two-stage authentication. Get code. We got the code in our phone. We enter it, hit submit. And now we have access to the bank. We have logged in. And so now it's asking us, which accounts do we want to share? So let's say we have a ton of accounts and I want to share my checking and my savings. I scroll down. I come over here and I say, I agree to all this. I say continue. And now it wants me to agree to this. I say continue. And now we are done. We are done with this flow. Okay, so it's telling us success. Your account has been successfully linked to your app. And so now at this point, we should have the access token. Okay, so we're going to hit continue. And now we don't need to do this anymore. We are redirected automatically to our FinTech demo, to our dashboard. Okay, because we have the access token. We've taken that public token that we've gotten at the end of the client flow and we've exchanged it for the more permanent access token. And then I can click on one of these accounts in order to get some more information. So let's say I click on this one and I see balance current and balance available. And obviously I can display more information, more details about this account. I can have, different operations, transfer, etc., etc. It's all there. It's all part of the API. But regardless of what you're going to be displaying, at least right now, you have this complete access to the items that you have granted this application to access. Okay, so I've granted 2 accounts. I have access, to these 2 accounts, and I can display all of this information. And I can do that via the API calls in the back. Okay, so now that I've shown you this proof of concept, let's jump back into FlutterFlow so that you can see how I build this app so that you can do the same. And before we begin, remember, if you guys are a member of our amazing Patreon community, you'll be able to view and or clone this app. And so it goes without saying, if you're looking to build fintech apps, you definitely want to clone this app because it's gonna be a lot easier to get started and kind of hit the ground running. All right, so this app has 3 screens. Okay, so we have this initial screen that displays this page with something like link your bank or get access to your bank account, etc., etc. You'll need to do this in order to get that final token. Okay, now when the user clicks this button, a couple of things happen. Okay, so if you open this up, first, we get that link token. So remember, that's that first flow. That's first thing that we need to do is to get the link token. Using this link token, we can open this, client flow, this UI client flow. And this thing here, I have as a custom action. Okay, so if we open it up, I have here as a custom action here. And the reason I have this as a custom action is because we're using a third-party package here called Plaid Flutter. Okay, and you can find that on pub.dev. And the purpose of this package is to provide that client experience. Okay, and this supports Android, iOS, and the web. Okay, so regardless of what platform you're targeting, you'll be able to provide that client experience, okay? That amazing experience that you don't need to do yourself, right? The client just, goes through the motions, they pick the bank, they enter their account information, they log in. You don't have to worry about all of that, right? That's kind of the beauty of Plaid. And so I use this package to create this custom action that takes in the link token, displays the whole flow, and then we return on success this public token. Okay, so when everything is said and done, when that flow is finished and it's successful, we have this action argument here, this action parameter that gets triggered once we get that public token. And with this public token, we exchange our tokens. Okay, so I have another API call that fires off to the backend, sends the public token, and gets back this access token. Once we have the access token, we set it in our app state, okay, because we're going to be using it from now on. We're going to be making lots and lots of calls with this access token. And once we've saved it in app state, we redirect to transactions. Because at this point in time, we have the access token. We can do all the logic. We can get the accounts, the account details, etc., etc. And that is why, when we get the token, we redirect the user here. And on this page, we simply do the API call, right? Get accounts or get transactions, whatever we need, right? So if I head over to my API calls, I have this call here, get link token. This is the very, very first call that gets triggered. After we have, after the UI flow is finished, we get the public token. We exchange it using this call for an access token. And then we can simply execute these normal calls, get accounts, get balance, which is what I'm doing here. So on transactions, I have this list view and I execute this get accounts. I get a list of accounts. And in fact, you can see it here. I can just hop over here and I can simply execute it and I get my list of accounts. Now, where am I executing, right? So I'm using this Plaid test, which is my own server. And this is something that you have to build. Now, fortunately, Plaid provides a kind of a sample kind of server environment, okay? So if you head over to Quick Start and you scroll down, you have this quick start setup. You can use non-Docker or Docker. So I went ahead, I configured this kind of their own server environment, and I put that in the cloud. And so now I can access it. I can send data to it, and I can work with it. But in production, you kind of have to do it yourself. Okay, so you kind of have to do it yourself. And so if you jump back here, I have get balance and get accounts. Okay, so now I can simply execute this because I have the access token. The most important thing is that first flow, that whole flow, the link token, the UI flow, send the link token, get back the public token, exchange the public token for an access token. After that, you can do anything that you want at that point in time. And just like how I said in the beginning of the video, if you guys want to see like a fully functioning complex app that has a lot of functionality, and the user can maybe do transfers, do deposits, etc., leave a like on this video. If I see at least 1,000 likes on this video, I'm gonna go ahead and build a complex app. Now, like I mentioned during the video, if you guys want to get access to this app right here and you want to try it out, you want to use my backend, which you're definitely welcome to use, then you'll be able to view and or clone this app when you become a member of our incredible Patreon community. So that means that you're going to see this app, and then you can simply clone it into your account, and then you can do anything that you want. You can keep building it using my backend. Absolutely fine, no problems at all. You can ask questions inside of our Patreon community. You can leave comments, you can chat with other members, and you can take your NoCode knowledge to the next level, right? Take it up a notch, a couple of notches, etc., etc. And that's not all. You also get access to all my other apps. Goes without saying. So, if you're trying to learn NoCode, you're trying to become better, you're going to get access to a ton of other apps. They're all there. They're all available for you guys to view and or clone. And that's not all. You also get access to extra content, Q&As, behind the scenes. Maybe I'll do kind of a deep dive when it comes to building fintech apps. So if you guys want to see that, leave a comment inside of our Patreon community. I'm actually going to be doing a poll in a day or two, just to check what you guys want, what kind of tutorial you guys want to see, maybe on fintech apps, maybe on Plaid, maybe on something else. Definitely going to have some, like, an interesting deep dive talking about all of this. So if you don't want to miss that, definitely go ahead and join our amazing Patreon community. And so, if you're enjoying all of this content, you're getting value, you want more content, you want more value, then go ahead and click the first link in the description and become a member of our incredible Patreon community.